Welcome back. Interest rates have been so low for so long we have taken it for granted. A little reminder, the Fed lowered interest rates to basically zero in December 2008 as the nation was slipped into a financial collapse. And as we all know, it was a long, slow recovery, and in an effort to keep it going, rates remain low until now. The reverse of the slow economy is an overheated one, which results in inflation. So since March, the Fed started creeping rates back up. So how does this affect you? And joining us for more are ABC7's business correspondent Richard Stern, Leslie Swart from Blue Sky Lending, Mark Bomig, a realtor at Michael Saunders & Company, and Jerry Zivick, our own ABC7 consumer watchdog. So Richard, if you could talk about for a second, that the main concern here is, as I said, an overheated economy, which would produce inflation, which we really have not had to deal with for a very long time. So that's the reason why the Fed is acting, correct?
I think that's absolutely true, but I think you also have to remember that there are two sides to anything. A lot of our viewers are CD buyers, or were CD buyers, and got spoiled by rates of 6 and 7 and 8% and counted on that income stream. Well, now rates, if they slowly make their way higher, some of them will be able to replace their earlier CDs.
Her name was Aunt Doris.
There you go.
And Jerry, that brings us to you, because people like my aunt really depended on that to really for their retirement income.
And she's been in trouble for the last number of years. And what happened to a lot of those people is they were looking for ways to supplement their income, and they took riskier investments, which sometimes worked out and sometimes didn't.
Right. And Leslie and Mark, both of you are on the real estate end of this. Leslie, I mean, did a lot of your customers basically take it for granted for a long time that rates would be this low?
Well, I think that, I think for the past 8 years we've seen low rates below 5%, and we've gotten used to it. And I think everyone has known that it's going to go up, but it doesn't make it any less painful.
And Mark, what did that mean for the housing market, especially after those tough times a couple of years ago in 2008?
Well, with the lower rates, of course, we saw a huge amount of buying. People were taking advantage of the lower rates to get into homes that they hadn't been to previously. So I think it's actually been good since the recovery has started with the low rates.
Correct me if I'm wrong, after the 2008 financial collapse, those were pretty lean years for folks like yourself.
They were very lean. And it wasn't really until the investors started coming in and buying up properties that were the distressed properties that started to bring us out of that situation.
And Leslie, it was a while before the banks would even give mortgages or make it easier for prospective home buyers to get mortgages.
Well, we still had, the way Blue Sky Lending set up is we have wholesale relationships with multiple banks and lenders, so we still had a lot of options, but they were a lot stricter. I mean, to qualify, they were, underwritten, and certain guidelines were adhered to a lot more stringently than they are now.
Okay. We have to take a quick break. Our conversation continues right after we get a check on the first alert forecast with Chief Meteorologist Bob Harrigan. Bob.
Well, beautiful sunset tonight, Alan. Get a look at it from the Van Wezel perspective, looking out over Sarasota Bay toward Lido. You can see we had a little bit of cloudiness, but not much near the coast. It was inland that we saw the storms. Saw some nice crepuscular rays right there on the right side of your screen. The viewer photos, this was from earlier. Barb Wilson sending this one in. The fair weather cumulus clouds, nice blue skies right there. And then those turned into thunderstorms as the inland breeze, the west coast sea breeze, made it all the way inland. Fred Seeger getting that one just recently before the sun went down. Big storms to the north of us along that stationary front, but here are our afternoon and evening storms firing up along the sea breeze front, something you don't normally see here in November. We had that east to southeasterly wind flow, and some of these are producing some locally heavy rainfall right now. We had rainfall rates up to 1.5 inches per hour in near Northport earlier. Also, Punta Gorda had some rainfall in near Port Charlotte. That has since moved on, but now we are focusing to the north thereof. You can see some of that generating lightning, indicating that the storms were a little bit bigger, but these will be winding down here in the next, I would say, hour, and we'll produce up to an inch and a half of rainfall. Temperatures now into the upper 70s. It's going to be a warm night. It will be a muggy one too, and we'll see some patchy fog forming. The Gulf water temperature now at 80 degrees. Temperatures along the coast all into the upper 70s now. And as far as the heat index, at one point today, the heat index was at 90 in Arcadia and Wauchula. It'll be similar again tomorrow. Lows to start the day off. We'll see them in the low 70s near the water and into the upper 60s inland under generally fair skies. I mentioned that little fog that could be forming, especially where we had the rainfall this evening. That could be a factor tomorrow morning for the commute, but generally mostly sunny skies to start the day off with. As far as the forecast goes, we will see temperatures warm up into the mid 80s near the beaches and upper 80s inland with partly cloudy skies anticipated throughout the afternoon. Now, as far as the futurecast goes, that frontal boundary to the north weakens and fades away, but here comes the next one. I talked about that snow in Kansas City. Well, that low pressure system will drive this front close to us on Friday, but not through us until Saturday morning. And notice that thin line of showers. We're not expecting a lot of rainfall with this front, as the main lift and energy will be well to the north of us. And this front will cool us down just a little bit, as opposed to the mid to upper 80s. We'll be into the low 80s for highs, I think, both on Saturday and Sunday. And maybe a few more clouds around as well. So look for partly cloudy to mostly cloudy skies at times on Saturday, but we still should see plenty of sunshine for the weekend. 77 right now. We have fair skies and the dew point temperature summer-like at 72. The high today pretty close to near record-breaking. We got up to 88. Our normal high at our record high at 90, our normal high at 80 degrees, so we were well above the average high temperature today. So once that front moves through, it kind of hangs down to our south. It'll give us a slight chance for inland showers on Sunday, not much, at 20%. The next storm system develops over the lower Mississippi Valley. This will eventually sweep a stronger front our way, and then by Wednesday of next week, you'll notice a much cooler weather forecast. Southeast winds turn to the west for boaters tomorrow. Pretty much smooth sailing on the waters. Seas will be running 2 feet or less, and the extended forecast shapes up like this. Nice weather, warm for Friday. We cool down just a little bit over the weekend. Highs in the low 80s, and then that next cold front arrives late Tuesday, Wednesday morning, a chance for some morning showers. But notice the high temperatures back in the low to mid 70s, both on Wednesday and Thursday, so not too bad right there. Alan?
This is an important message for anyone with Medicare. You may be eligible for an all-in-one Medicare plan that combines hospital, medical, and prescription drug coverage together with extra benefits that may include dental, vision, hearing aids, and much more. Some of these plans have a $0 monthly premium regardless of your income. That's right. For one low plan premium, or in some cases a $0 premium, you may be able to get coverage for your hospital visits, doctor appointments, prescription drugs, routine dental care, eyeglasses and contact lenses, hearing aids, and possibly more. Today may be the first time you've heard about this type of Medicare plan. The advisors at the Medicare.com helpline are licensed insurance agents who will explain more when you call. Call now to see if you qualify. Call the number on your screen now. Call now to see if you qualify for these benefits. You worked hard for your Medicare. Now is the time for your Medicare to work hard for you. Not affiliated with or acting on behalf of any government agency or program.
Designers do it with style.
Tell me what's going on here. Because
why, you don't like my hair?
The Mark and Mandy Show. In-depth design ideas.
What is up with the tuck tape here? Let's cover it up.
Amazing beauty and fashion tips.
So Halle Berry has amazing skin. Her secret is coffee grounds.
No.
Delicious recipes.
Today I'm gonna show you a special dish that is sure to please that special someone in your life.
Watch the Mark and Mandy Show right here on your favorite channel.
America was built on a love for the outdoors. We are a nation of sportsmen, blessed with magnificent natural resources. With broad interests across water and field, we are united in our devotion to nature and conservation. Join us every week for the best shows celebrating the outdoor lifestyle. Outdoor America. Live free.
This weekend on the ABC 7 live stream.
When ABC 7 declares a first alert weather day, it means we can expect major changes to weather conditions here along the Sun Coast.
It means there could be severe, potentially dangerous weather ahead.
We tell you when a first alert weather day is coming because we want you to be prepared.
A first alert weather day is an advance warning. We'll let you know about any changes in the weather when the first signs appear.
ABC 7 First Alert Weather. We're here for you.
Hunger is a growing problem in our area, and a huge number of Suncoast residents are suffering in silence.
It could be your coworker,
your child's classmate,
or your friend fighting to secure their next meal. But you can help.
ABC7 is partnering with local organizations to help feed the Suncoast.
Go to mysuncoast.com/hunger to join the fight. Help us.
Help the hungry.
Welcome back. We are talking about rising interest rates and how it impacts you. Joining us for more, ABC7's business correspondent Richard Stern, Leslie Swart from Blue Sky Lending, Mark Bomig, a realtor at Michael Saunders & Company, and Jerry Zivick, our ABC7 consumer watchdog. Richard, we've heard the president on TV railing against the Fed for increasing the interest rates, calling actually the Fed kind of crazy. Why? I mean, it's hard to explain why he does a lot of things, but what's his point and what's the impact on the stock market?
Well, the impact on the stock market really has, the old saying, the best surprise is no surprise. Wall Street's been expecting higher rates. The Fed met today and announced they're not going to do anything, but they're going to raise rates probably by 25 basis points, 1/4% next month. He's taking great credit for the stock market, at least while it was going higher, and it's going higher again, I'm pleased to say. But I think you have to remember, at its core, he's a real estate investor. And real estate investors like low interest rates. So this is really very, very much against the grain of how he thinks.
Leslie, do you handle both residential and commercial lending in terms of mortgages?
We really do just specialize in residential.
And so what have you seen any impact since the rates started going up last spring in terms of the numbers of people coming in and what they're able to do?
We've seen a drop in volume for sure, and maybe because there's less refinances, although our company has really been doing more purchase business than anything, but I don't know. We have seen a slowdown, and I've checked with other lenders, and they seem to say the same thing. And realtors, there has been a slowdown.
And Mark, what are you seeing? Because we always boast about the housing market and how well it's doing in the greater Tampa Bay area. Has this really kind of slowed things up just a little bit?
It might have slowed things up a little. We're up about 6% in listings in the luxury market, which is over the $1 million point, and we're up in listings about 4.5% in the standard market. So when listings go up and we get more and more listings, then it kind of makes it a little bit more even, and the prices don't go up so much. But you have to remember that I would say last year we did about 50% in cash sales, and so this year we've done about 45% in cash.
So just explain that. I used to live in South Florida, and my realtor would say if somebody calls up, comes over with a suitcase full of cash, don't ask any questions here. But are we basically talking about those who are retiring, who are moving to Sarasota and not taking out mortgages? That is correct. In a position to just buy.
We have a lot of retirees that come here and they've sold their houses up north and they're buying permanent residence here. They have enough to pay cash. And then we also have a lot of investors or people buying second homes. And a lot of the second home market is not using financing.
And Jerry, we talked about my Aunt Doris, who, as I said, basically was able to pay the bills from interest rates on her bonds and so forth. But what have folks like that done for the last 8 years since interest rates have been so low? And are they going to come back to bonds?
Well, a lot of those individuals actually put away their principal and then hope to live off interest for the rest of their lives, and they took a risky position, and a lot of them went into their principal on that in this period of time. What's interesting, I was going to go back to the real estate for a second. So we have all of these older individuals coming down to Florida, retirees. Our mortgage rates or our mortgage requirements too difficult for millennials to be able to buy property at this point in time, even though rates are low?
No. Actually, mortgage guidelines have loosened up a bit. So no, it's not too difficult. I think maybe there's that stereotype, but it's just with interest rates where they are, we're still able to qualify people. The debt to income ratios have expanded, and yeah.
Okay. All right, we're just getting warmed up. Our conversation on interest rates will continue right after a quick break, so stay with us.
You like to pay less. That's why you made Honda Accord the best-selling mid-size car in America. Get the redesigned Accord, the North American Car of the Year, or Civic, a KBB.com Best Buy for less than the competition. Like SUVs and trucks? Get Motor Trend's SUV of the Year, CRV, the 8-passenger Pilot, or Ridgeline truck for up to $4,240 less today at your local Honda dealer.
I'm a Florida voter. I want to make sure my voice is heard.
Here in Florida,
we have 3 ways to vote.
Vote by mail.
Early voting.
And voting at the polls on Election Day.
Make sure your voice is heard.
I'm Secretary of State Ken Detzner. Get ready, get set, vote.
Every week on Animal Outtakes, it's a new animal adventure.
Oh, I love being out here with the horses.
These are not your typical horses. These are, in fact, Mustangs. We're visiting the Wild Horse Rescue Center to see the work and gentle training that goes into getting these wild horses to this point. And...
Hey, bud, you remember me? Of course you don't, because fish don't have memories. Right?
Inspector Planet puts this theory to the test.
Find out first at 4 on the Suncoast with ABC 7 News at 4. ABC 7 News at 4 starts with a detailed look at your first alert weather forecast to help you plan and prepare. We give you a fresh, fast-paced rundown of the day's top stories and videos, including breaking news, live updates, and traffic hotspots, all at a new, more convenient time. Find out first at 4, weekdays on ABC 7.
Be a Heart Walk hero. I'm Scott Dennis. Join ABC 7 and the American Heart Association for the 2018 Suncoast Heart Walk. It's Saturday, November 10th at J.D. Hamill Park. Walk with us to help raise funds to fight heart disease and stroke. Your support will help us advance life-saving breakthroughs that will keep more hearts beating. We can't save lives without your help. Register for free and walk with us to have fun and help hearts. For more information, visit suncoastheartwalk.org.
This is an important message for anyone with Medicare. You may be eligible for an all-in-one Medicare plan that combines hospital, medical, and prescription drug coverage together with extra benefits that may include dental, vision, hearing aids, and much more. Some of these plans have a $0 monthly premium regardless of your income. That's right. For one low plan premium, or in some cases a $0 premium, you may be able to get coverage for your hospital visits, doctor appointments, prescription drugs, routine dental care, eyeglasses and contact lenses, hearing aids, and possibly more. Today may be the first time you've heard about this type of Medicare plan. The advisors at the Medicare.com helpline are licensed insurance agents who will explain more when you call. Call now to see if you qualify. Call the number on your screen now. Call now to see if you qualify for these benefits. You worked hard for your Medicare. Now is the time for your Medicare to work hard for you. Not affiliated with or acting on behalf of any government agency or program.
Check out mysuncoast.com/dining, your guide to the foodie lifestyle. You're watching ABC 7 News at 7:30.
Welcome back. We are talking about rising interest rates and how it impacts you. And joining us for more are ABC 7's business correspondent Richard Stern, Leslie Swart from Blue Sky Lending, Bowming, a realtor at Michael Saunders & Company, and Jerry Civic, our ABC 7 consumer watchdog. So we were talking about Aunt Doris and her bonds. How have the increases in interest rates affected that bond market, Richard?
Well, the 10-year Treasury, which is sort of 98.6, is up to about 3.25, which doesn't sound like very much, but it's certainly a lot higher than it had been. I think the key thing is you got to remember that long term, these rates are going to continue to move up. And I think what a bond buyer or even a CD buyer has to be aware of, but more a bond buyer, is that if you lock in rates now and rates continue to go higher, the value of the bond you just bought is going to probably decline in value.
So what do you do?
Well, what you try and do, we do call what's laddering maturities. We'll buy something for 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, 24 months. And that way, every 6 months, we're getting a fresh look at money. And if rates continue to go up, we just take the end of the ladder and go higher.
What about the impact on corporations, big companies, in terms of the increase in interest rates? Are they less likely to invest in new things?
Well, I think first of all, let's remember what they've been investing in. They've been buying back their own stock for the last year and a half or 2 years. Most major corporations have been reducing their outstanding number of shares by buying back their stock because they frankly thought they could do better by doing that than by putting their money to work in any kind of a fixed rate. They certainly are buying equipment, and the cost of that equipment, because of rates going up, is going up. But in fact, it's going up slowly, and they program this in. This is not a surprise. The fact that rates have gone up and will continue to go up is pretty well filtered in.
So is the president's concerns unwarranted?
I guess that depends on who I don't think it's unwarranted. I think the Fed sees that their role is to keep the economy growing, but not growing so fast that we have inflation. I remember, Alan, I got in this business in 1976, and I remember in the late 70s, early 80s, when people were getting 18% on a money market fund. But the truth is we were no better off because at the same time, anything I would buy at the grocery store went up by 22%. That's exactly what we're trying to prevent.
And Leslie, I guess the question to you is, do you see new home buyers or even those younger home buyers being kind of scared away from the mortgage market right now because the rates were so low for so long and now it's starting to go up?
That may be why we see a slowdown in volume because people are assuming that they can't qualify or the interest rates put them out of the market. But I would really encourage people to actually speak to a mortgage professional and really find out whether they can, because they might find it's not having as big an impact as they think, although the media is making it sound like it's a huge impact. There's reasons, as Richard said, that rates are going up. We have a good economy. The average wage is going up. I mean, people are doing well. So maybe you can still afford that home, and it's worth checking it out.
Is it also important to remember, Mark, that real estate in some ways is seasonal? That some people, when you get into the summer, that's when people are moving jobs once their kids get out of school and they're reconsidering things. So it's kind of hard right now to figure where things
well,
are.
it is seasonal, but it's funny because we feel like our market is continually to grow, and we're seeing a lot less fluctuation during the summer months, like into July, August, and September. But you remember that here, when season is in, our population almost doubles, and you can just tell that by the amount of traffic on the roads and the wait at the restaurants. So we have a lot of buyers that are here from towards the end of November all the way through May, and then the parents start looking if they're changing schools. Then we have that whole market segment that's looking to buy and sell houses.
And you mentioned that a lot of these buyers are paying in cash, but for those who still need, in terms of taking out a mortgage, are their expectations lowering based upon the increased interest rates?
Well, I really don't think that we've gone up quite that much. We're talking a half a point and a quarter of a point and maybe 3/4 from when it started to increase to now. So there's a lot more products that are on the market as well. So there's a lot of different choices that we didn't have just 2 or 3 years ago. Well, we have these new renovation loans. If somebody wants to buy a house and they need to, about the renovation loans, when they buy a house, if it needs to be fixed up, they can go ahead and get the price of the house in the fixed up condition, even though it's not fixed up, as long as they get their subs together and get the prices put in so that they can go ahead and get a mortgage to have the house fixed up once they've bought it.
Jerry, what is the biggest concern or obstacle in terms of those who are retired here in terms of rising interest rates and how that impacts their retirement?
Well, I think one of the things that everybody's concerned about always is healthcare. And healthcare, the pace of healthcare and the cost of healthcare is increasing far in excess of anything that returns are in interest rates. I think that's probably their singular biggest concern of all the retirees here, is being able to afford healthcare.
Well, that's a whole other show, which I'm sure we're going to get to, because I would imagine that is something that the president and the new Democratic House have indicated that that's one of the things that they want to tackle.
Well, it's on two levels. It's for the people that are on Medicare, and then it's for everybody else that's not on Medicare too. I mean, Medicare folks are being impacted, and non-Medicare folks are being impacted far more. So it's a very serious problem.
Right. And Richard, you say that interest rates are kind of baked into the planning, strategic planning of a lot of the companies, but and you also say that the Fed knows what it's doing here, but when does it become problematic?
I think it becomes problematic if you see the economy start to slow down much too quickly. Their goal is to have that perfect storm, you know, to really have everything just so it's absolutely right. And the problem could be, I'm not saying it will be, but the problem could be if rates go too much higher for too long a period of time. If the economy starts to cool off, then we're in trouble.
Right. I've read that the Federal Reserve prefers to keep Fed funds at between 2 and 5%. It's considered the sweet spot that maintains a healthy economy. But presidents worry a lot about recessions, and this president, I'm sure that's in the back of his mind, because we've been on a roll not just for the 2 years of the Trump presidency. The economy recovered substantially before that, but good things can't last forever. They're usually cyclical.
Well, I think that's true, but again, it's not too hot, not too cold. We're looking for the just right, and a recession is something that everybody frankly fears, and what we're trying to do again, and the Fed has not an easy job because they're trying to make sure that inflation doesn't get out of control, but at the same time, they do believe that higher interest rates are going to be a benefit everybody.
And I would imagine that is really a huge concern in the real estate market, because when we are hit by recessions, that one of the major industries that are impacted is the mortgage industry and the real estate industry. How, Laura, does that usually work when in times of recession that comes in terms of people's abilities to get a mortgage?
Well, I mean, it like you said, it impacts their ability to qualify if they've lost their jobs. And I mean, we just saw through the financial crisis a horrible situation where it made it difficult for them to pay their mortgages. We are seeing lenders and servicing companies working agreements more with borrowers because they don't want that to happen again. So I'm sure if we fall into a recessionary, I mean, even with the hurricane here, they were offering people that maybe suffered damage to their homes some relief in making their payments until they could get back to work and what have you. So I think that the lenders are very aware. They don't want to go back to where we were, where everyone had to walk away.
And Mark, the other thing we don't want is if we, it's still burned into our memories. In many neighborhoods, rich and middle class, how many homes were abandoned because of people who were underwater in their homes and so forth. That's the last thing that you want to see.
Most definitely. Of course, it's so much different now than what it was then. The people who abandoned the homes, a lot of them didn't have any money invested in them to begin with because it was so easy to get money. So now they have a lot more invested because the rules have changed ever since the meltdown. So it's a little bit harder to walk away from something when you have a lot invested in it.
Right. Jerry, what advice would you give to seniors right now who are seeing the rates go up in terms of the bond market and are saying maybe we can go back to those days that we're paying the bills off the interest rates?
I think it's a little bit premature to think that. And with respect to the bond market, I'm always very leery of the bond market, and I think we have something else that goes on with the bond market here. That we have this global economy now, and if I understand everything, the bonds in Europe and the rest of the world aren't doing so well. Right. And because of that, you have the whole world coming into our bond market, which is impacting what's going on there, and it's also impacting what's going on with our real estate too. You have a lot of people coming in and making investments.
All right, we have to take a quick break, and we'll be back for final thoughts in a moment, so stay with us.
Christmas Traditions by LuxArt Silks, where more is merrier. Make your holidays sparkle with style. Browse our amazing showroom, cute collectible cottages, and beautiful Christmas displays. Find the inspiration, selection, and quality you need to deck the halls merry and bright. Christmas Traditions also features the area's largest selection of quality pre-lit Christmas trees, every size, shape, and color, and plenty of decorations to make your home shine for the holidays. Christmas Traditions by LuxArt Silks, where more is merrier. Visit us on New 301, just a quarter-mile north of University Parkway.
There are lots of people who are confused about which Medicare plan is right for them.
Hey, that's me. I barely know where to start.
Well, start here with me, Karen. I'm a licensed Humana sales agent.
Well, it's nice to meet you, Karen. I'm John Smith.
Hi, John. At Humana, we know you're unique, so you have different needs from other John Smiths.
Yeah, I've always thought so.
And together, we can find a plan that's right for you.
Great. I go to the doctor a couple of times a year, and I have some prescriptions, but I'm never fully sure of what's covered and what's not.
With Humana's all-in-one Medicare Advantage plans, you get coverage for hospital stays, doctor visits, and Part D prescription drug benefits, all for an affordable and sometimes no monthly plan premium.
Do you have any more information?
Sure, I'll get a decision guide in the mail to you today. They're free.
Finally, someone who understands the real me.
Your health and happiness is important to us. Call or go online now to get your free decision guide. Call a licensed Humana sales agent today.
This is an important message for anyone with Medicare. You may be eligible for an all-in-one Medicare plan that combines hospital, medical, and prescription drug coverage together with extra benefits that may include dental, vision, hearing aids, and much more. Some of these plans have a $0 monthly premium regardless of your income. That's right. For one low plan premium, or in some cases a $0 premium, you may be able to get coverage for your hospital visits, doctor appointments, prescription drugs, routine dental care, eyeglasses and contact lenses, hearing aids, and possibly more. Today may be the first time you've heard about this type of Medicare plan. The advisors at the Medicare.com helpline are licensed insurance agents who will explain more when you call. Call now to see if you qualify. Call the number on your screen now. Call now to see if you qualify for these benefits. You worked hard for your Medicare. Now is the time for your Medicare to work hard for you. Not affiliated with or acting on behalf of any government agency or program.
Tomorrow at 9 on Suncoast View.
All it takes is sand, a shovel, and a bucket for these artists to impress us. I'm Linda Carson. On Suncoast View, we try making a sculpture for the Crystal Classic Sculpting Competition. The Sarasota Pops Orchestra previews their tribute to veterans. We'll get a sample of their John Denver Coming Home. We'll learn about local Veterans Day events, and Kate's Cookie Lab is in the kitchen.
Tomorrow at 9 on Suncoast View.
Welcome back. Our guests join us right now for final thoughts. And Richard, we should keep things in perspective because the Fed funds reached a high of 20 points in 1979 and 1980 to combat double-digit inflation. In 1973, inflation tripled from 3.9 to 9.6%. That would wreak havoc on our economy, would it not?
No question. I referred earlier to that same time frame, and you could buy a United States Treasury bond at 17% interest, non-callable for 20 years. That was the all-time investment. Today, not so much, but I think what I really want to make sure our viewers understand is there's not one investment that solves everything. It's not one thing fits all. Certainly a stock portfolio, to my judgment, makes sense, but stocks that pay good dividends and therefore are in the business of what we call total return also makes sense. Having a substantial cash reserve makes sense, and if you want to put your toe in the bond market, I do think rates are going higher, so I wouldn't go aggressively into the bond market, but a combination of stocks that pay good dividends, cash, and a little bit in the bond market, and I think you can sleep at night.
And Laura and Mark, when you hear a lot of commercials on radio and on television to potential home buyers saying, get in right now before the rates get any higher, but for your average man or woman or family, Laura, who is considering buying a new home right now, Leslie, I'm sorry, what would you tell them in terms of those concerns?
Well, I like what you brought up, Alan, about putting this into perspective, because if you look back 30 years, it's only been the last 8 years that we've seen rates below 5% on a 30-year fixed. So we've been a little spoiled, yes, but all the rest of those years we've been above 5% and in the sixes, if you were to average it out probably and kind of cut out the 80s, because that was a little bit of an anomaly. But so I would say to don't assume you can't qualify for a loan. Actually, rates are still historically at a great level, and there are a lot of programs out there that we're able to work with borrowers to get them into a home. So don't just speak to a mortgage professional and find out.
And Mark, how quickly are homes moving right now?
We're seeing homes typically on the market anywhere from 45 to 65 days if they're priced properly. And, really, money is still relatively cheap when you look at the overall economy and where things have been in the past. So it's really still a good time to buy.
And from the consumer point of view, Jerry, is there one thing more than anything else that concerns you?
I think you have to be in a situation where you play it safe. And I think you have to realize that what you learned growing up necessarily, or the old maxims, aren't necessarily the maxims you can rely upon. You have to think things through. It has to make a lot of common sense what you're doing, and you have to diversify whatever you're doing. But the golden rule, to me, is you want to be in a situation where you have a roof over your head and you can afford to pay for it.
Okay, thank you all for joining us tonight. We want to thank our guests, ABC 7 business correspondent Richard Stern, Leslie Swart from Blue Sky Lending, Mark Bomig, a realtor at Michael Saunders and Company, and Jerry Zivick, our ABC 7 consumer watchdog.